Hello, I'm Noah Mucci. I am the director, the cinematographer, and co-writer of the neo-noir film Lunamancer. And I'm here with my producer and co-writer, Matt Patterson.
Hey, how's it going?
And we are putting together these answers for Sunny over at Moon Glimmer in regard to the film that we did. Lunamancer. That's my that's the first feature film that I've directed, and it very much was a accumulation of a type of story that I had been making in a lot of shorts. And as I think is the progression with like a lot of filmmakers, at some point, if you want to make a feature, it's time to make a feature. And I think I just kind of arrived at that. And so I had visited a friend of mine in upstate New York right around the time when that feeling had begun to crystallize, and I kind of fell in love with upstate New York, and specifically around a window of time between fall and winter where there was just this very ghostly cold to everything. And it just kind of started giving me ideas. I was staying with one of my best friends that I've known since actually middle school. She had just bought a house up there, and was in the process of putting it together and restoring it. And the house itself was also incredibly inspiring. There was so much of her personality was infused into the just God, the layout of the house, and
Right.
just like the choices she was making to decorate it with, that the as I was writing the story, the house and even my friend ended up becoming very integral parts of what was turning into the outline to Lunamancer, or as it was known at the time, Dead Skin. And the moment that it really came together for me was I started dreaming about the movie. I started having these dreams that weren't related to the film just yet, but they were so interesting, and had to do with aspects of my life that felt like they were so emotionally charged. I began incorporating them into this treatment, and I very quickly realized this is going to be the movie. And I think at that's when I started consulting with Matt, and told him, "Hey man, I'm in upstate. I'm thinking about making a movie, and these are the rough building blocks that I think I'm going to work with."
Yeah, you had come back to Los Angeles, and I remember you showing me this rough cut, and you kind of, it had all the elements, but you didn't really have an end, and but it was well thought out, and I remember taking you to the side, and I was like, well, I think I could help you make this into a great film because you where you had shot it was just like about like it was about like 20 minutes north of where I went to college, and I just so keyed into the the kind of weather, and I just knew the place, and I knew what you were doing, and it was really interesting. And then we really worked together on putting together this film, and the film uh, was, it started like you said, like a dream, but it started to have some focus, and it became very interesting. It wasn't like a typical movie at that time, right? A budget.
I think there was something, like, if I may, the thing that like
Yeah.
you said that like really uh, it convinced me. I was like, okay, this is the guy that I should be doing this with. Is when I showed you that rough cut, I remember you saying, uh, this isn't bad. It can be good. Do you want to make a film or are you trying to tell a poem? Neither of
Yeah,
which is
that's
wrong.
right.
And I'll never forget that because
Yeah,
I was real I for lack of a better term, I was very lost in terms of what I was trying to make with that. I think I was still figuring out so much about like
right.
narrative visual storytelling that a lot of it was just me reaching for things that were familiar and trying to build a story around what was coming naturally to me. And I think bringing Matt on board definitely. I think the thing that you recognized that I now understand a better sense of the value for was the tone and the mood.
Yeah,
And I think that's the thing that I was just acting so reactive towards. And then when Matt became involved, it was way more okay. This is how we're going to focus. This is
right.
what will make it a story. This is what will sell. And that ended up pulling the lace on it to the point that I think with a handful of reshoots and a lot of story conversations, we ended up pivoting from what was a very interpretive poem to something that had way more of a character and a spine and something to say, which I think, you know, I mean, I would have arrived at something, but I definitely owe a lot of that to Matt's experience and guidance on it. So it worked. It was definitely it would have been a far different film had we not started collaborating.
Yeah,
So
and you know, I was working at Warner Brothers for really, I wound up working there 14 years. Uh, but Noah's film was a kind of a breath of fresh air. And you know, it was a very different film at the time, and also um, digital distribution, uh, and also we actually released physical product. It sold very well, but it was very it was new, and there was a place that I knew that we could sell it, and it was you know, relatively inexpensively made, uh, and we just had this real opportunity. However, I'm just going to point out the pandemic happened, and the whole movie industry really changed. And but we did finish the film during the pandemic.
it made I'll say the pandemic gave us the time to finish it, but it made it much
Yes,
harder to sell. Uh, Bless
much harder.
you.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was a blessing and a curse for this
yeah,
film because the films that were coming out at the time were less expensive versions of major films.
yeah,
And we just had a less expensive version of, you know, it was a film. We had a trailer and it promised something. But what we were doing was is we were promising something for a smaller audience, right?
yeah.
And
Which
so and that wasn't the way that the market was due to the pandemic.
yeah.
So, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, the as far as the process of actually filming it, I mean, it was very much built around resources that we had access to. You know, it's like
Right.
so many of the locations were places that my friend that lived in upstate New York had introduced me to or had access to. The actors I have worked with, God knows how many number of times they were all friends that I had just done like numerous shorts with. And so even going back as far as college, the lead in it, Jake Perkinen, he and we were doing short films together before we were old enough to drink.
Yeah.
You know, and so he had since moved into a different career path, but he's always been a cinephile. Like the guy loves
Right.
movies, and he's the son of a famous actor, Perry Perkinen, and he's always loved acting himself. And so as the movie started to come together, he was the first phone call I made, and he had since transitioned into a career. He's now a man of science,
Yeah.
far more respectable field of professionalism, and he that ended up becoming an aspect of the story because it very
That's
much
right.
Isaac's journey was about reinventing oneself,
Yeah.
and Jake had gone through that. He had been a filmmaker, he had been an actor, and he went through something in his life that made him feel like I'm going to pursue something else, reinvented himself, and then discovered that he wasn't happy. And I think that like, I understood what that could feel like, and it very much became like a driving aspect of the core character. So, but yeah, I mean, Jake, I mean, I can't imagine the movie having been made with anyone else, but he really was the I mean Jake's he is like I mean I've worked with like a lot of actors at this point, and I still stand by this. I think Jake is one of the most brilliantly naturally talented actors that I had to this day still have gotten the chance to collaborate with. But he's off making science because you know we need that too.
And
So
and then we had little scenes of him remembering his work, and it's like all of a sudden we the scene is like him at work, and he has a lab coat, and there are scientists
yeah,
in the back,
he
and but those are real.
oh yeah, no, no. We that like I mean, as was the I mean, what's funny is that's probably the location that we had the most permission to shoot in was the
Yeah,
laboratory. Like
yeah.
that was I forget if you were on any of those emails, but I was going back and forth with
Oh
Jake
yeah,
months, maybe even years,
yeah. No,
getting legal permission to use
right.
his lab in our film, and I don't think they ultimately knew what they were signing off on, but they did. So
And look, it we used the lab very respectfully,
oh,
and
totally,
and
yeah, no, no.
and when we did that, that was a reshoot, and that was during the pandemic, and
Yeah,
so
what I mean though is it's like when you're filming something like this,
yeah,
I have always found the best thing you can do as an indie filmmaker is just try to make yourself feel as small as you possibly can. Like, and it will
yeah,
just allow
act,
you access to things because, you know, you never want to say, hey, I'm a student filmmaker, but the more you insignificant you can feel to something, the more you're going to be able to navigate those channels. You know, I very rarely have I ever found that there's distance to be traveled by appearing bigger than you are. You know, but via yeah the do you want to talk
and
about the
well
VHS side of
yeah
things
the
at all?
VA the VHS version seems like, oh well, that was what you shot the movie on, and it's actually no, that wound up being the last part, like the last version of the movie that we released. And this is because while we use these great analog effects and stuff, you know, like we always had incorporated analog as part of these the video effects. Like we would try these video filters, right? And they didn't bring what we needed, but we shot them through literally a monitor, right? Like we would uh, and then that version of it would be low res enough it fit into the film,
It
and
was a really
so
unique look. Like I mean, like
yeah,
we basically played the film back on a cathode
yeah,
to
and it was but it wasn't an I format. It wasn't integrated. It was that's oh my god, I just screwed that up. But
progressive.
progressive.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you. It's
yep.
it's fun. I haven't actually thought about this in a while, but
Uh,
it's like, but so when we shot it, it is the video format. We used a 1980s progressive monitor, right?
yeah.
And by the way, do you remember when it caught on fire in your
No,
apartment? It
no.
exploded.
But thank God that we had a backup. Thank God you owned
I
owned
did. I own
two
two.
of this very specific monitor that like the look, I mean the look, like I think when we saw the look, what was
It
interesting about that was
worked.
it worked, but it applied a squeeze to it because it's a four
Yes.
by three monitor, and we were playing back a
Yes.
185 image on it.
That's right.
And so when we were basically
And,
doing a poor man's
and
telecine of it,
yeah, tell
and
us
then
any.
when we brought it back into the editorial software, we had to apply a D squeeze.
That's right.
And once we did that, it looked like nothing else. And it just
Yeah.
the thing that
It
I
was
remember, like,
a professional level of
yeah,
effect,
yeah,
but
it's just
nobody has this in their film.
no. And the quality that it gave to it was a simultaneously an unprecedented level of detail for that few pixels. Like if you look
Yeah,
at like and it's just like I remember it like and there was just like a warmth and an edge between each of the pixels that just felt so ghostly. And I think we both just we did a lot of tests, and we in terms of like, okay, what level of this are we going to work with? How much are we going to apply it to things? Like where in the story does it make sense? And I think what originally had felt like it was just going to be like, we'll just make these few instances. Suddenly we're building it into much more of the narrative, and we were doing composite garbage mats in certain sequences, and it became the look of the film. And
it,
it worked it really well.
I of course am hearing we had time because of the pandemic. It's like I'm hearing you say this,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, well, we have time. Uh,
Yeah.
but
I mean, but again, blessing and a curse. So
yeah,
um,
blessing and a curse. So then when
so
we came out with the VHS edit,
yeah,
I remember we screened it at a place in Los Angeles. We did not screen any like, you know, 2K or 4K or anything
no,
like that.
no,
We screened the VHS,
yeah,
and you turned to me and you were like, "This is my favorite version of the film."
it is, and it's like, it's like to this day, like I mean, I have never seen a movie more than I've seen this film. And the version that plays off of a VHS to me still is the one that tonally works the best. I think it really the 80s and 90s were obviously a big influence on a lot of it. And I don't know how much of that I was cognizant of like while putting it together. I think a lot of that was just my natural instincts as a storyteller and what I gravitate to as things that I want to stylistically incorporate. And so I think a lot of that was very organic. It was a love letter to a lot of my favorite movies and storytellers. It's like I think there was a lot of upstream color in it, and a lot of the guest. I think there was even some of Michael Mann's Thief that was in it. Like
Mm-hmm.
like there was a lot of influences that I knew I was drawing from, but I don't think at any point was I ever like pointing at something where it's like this is an homage
Right.
to it. So yeah,
And
but
as a producer, I was like, well, if we come out with the VHS version, that's cool. And
yeah,
by the way, if you get the Blu-ray, we have the VHS. Like you can see the VHS. You actually see it says play. You can get that version as well, or you can get it from us if you have a VHS
if
player.
you have a VHS player.
I
Uh,
have quite a few of them left.
Yeah, I don't know of another movie that has a option on a Blu-ray to watch a VHS. That's
I
I think that's
really
I love that fact. It's like I think the VHS is the best way to see it, but the Blu-ray is the most accessible way to see the best way to see it. So
yes.
yeah, so
and and I'm like, why does anybody else use this? You know, we
yeah,
were really pioneers in doing it, and nobody
absolutely.
copied us.
No, oh well, that we know of. I mean, that may be
Yeah,
out there
that
at
we know of. That's true. There's
some point.
so
But
many
that's
films.
yeah. The yeah, so Isaac, man, Isaac, it's so funny, like how much of even myself I see in Isaac watching the film these days. I mean, it very much is a composite of my friend Jake, the lead, myself, and then also my relationship with my friend whose house we were filming in. I think that it's something my dad said that I will always associate to the characterization of Isaac, and that's the first time he saw the movie, and he said to me, "It makes me really sad that this is how you see the world." And I was like, "No, Dad, this is how I saw the world, and making this movie is how I processed the things that I was feeling at the time." And I think that's very much, it feels there's a lot of frustration to Isaac. He doesn't
Hmm.
have control around the world and the things that has happened to him, but he still blames himself. Like he's got a lot of self-loathing, but self-loathing is also something that you can channel into drive,
But
and I think that's
this is
that's really,
interesting
yeah, no,
because I haven't heard you say this, but
I've had
it's
a lot of
like,
time to think on this.
yeah, you really have.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
by the way, that's good.
Yeah, it's I
Because
mean, but that's why the character works, is because
no, no,
he can't forgive himself and he
yeah,
hates himself. And the only
yeah,
way he can deal with that is to continue to bash his head on walls until he
yeah,
gets through them. And he doesn't know what he's going to find on the other side. But it's
right?
like a character like that is incredibly unstable. Like that is not somebody you want to A, have a relationship
No,
with,
no,
B,
you
run into in a dark
be.
alleyway.
Yeah, no, you
But
know, you don't
it
want to be around him at all.
No, I mean, but he's
I mean,
also
he's a nice guy,
he has a save the cat
but
moment. You know,
yeah, he does. He
he,
does
he's
have.
he's not unforgivable, but
Yeah, he
he is incredibly broken. You know, and
yeah,
he's sort of a bunch of pieces that are still working. Uh,
yeah. No, I mean, like,
he's trying to figure out where a finish line is,
yeah.
um and he really like the it's an interesting question, is balancing empathy with unpredictability,
Right.
because and maybe it's just because I see so much of myself in him, but I do find him an incredibly sympathetic character. But as far as like the unpredictability goes, I think that's where his humanity comes from. I think
Mm.
that's what makes him a human to me, is the fact that he is just a perpetual rolling ball of mistakes, but
Right.
it keeps him moving forward.
And
So
but you're saying, and this is new information for me, so it's interesting. You yourself have moved beyond this like almost destructive feeling, like there's hope for you. Isaac didn't really
yeah,
he left hope for his friends
yeah,
and left something
that's a good
behind.
way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't leave any of himself behind. By the way, we're ruining the movie for anybody who
Yeah,
hasn't seen it.
spoilers, 10
Yeah,
minutes
up.
ago. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so you should have
uh,
left.
you
But
should,
anyway,
yeah,
here.
this is a note to anybody that's still here: get out, if you want
Ah,
to see the movie,
no,
because
but this is
yeah,
interesting because for you, like you kind of learn, a way like Isaac was providing a service, right,
yeah,
as a character in a film, and he did provide a service, and he showed you that if you you stick to basically just something in life, uh you can make it worth living again.
And I think that's like, I mean, that's characters and stories. Oh, and by the way, there's Isaac right now.
Yeah, there he is.
I switched to my Zoom background. I was like, what's something that like really focuses the shot?
Around
I should
you.
pull something. Yeah, I should pull something. Should pull something from the film, and this one worked well. But you know, he's got a little.
There he is.
There he is, always looking, always searching the dreamscape for them dead sister ghosts. The yeah. Anyway,
But I
I
was
was just saying,
asking you the question,
yeah.
like how how did you find to move beyond like these characters? Did you
Um,
find a way?
they sort of because the characters, whereas they're a melting pot of a lot of different
Right.
people, they ultimately became their own character, and it's like the way your friends and family uh are, you can learn from them. I think in the same way we learn from characters that we create, and it's like
Yeah.
me seeing like,
Yeah, yeah.
and to be clear, I am not a unstoppable rage monster.
No,
Uh,
you are not.
yeah,
No. I
but
I
there's
know
that.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That there is there are still things
That's
that I don't like.
This is why we have an artificial barrier between us.
Yes, exactly. Because spoilers, I am an unstoppable rage monster. And Matt's not allowed in the same room as me anymore. He
Oh
actually
no, no.
he's had to move to Portland.
I
So
have. I've had to
yeah,
move to a
and it's
completely
specifically,
different state.
yes,
There's a
yeah,
border that
yeah,
we cannot cross.
multiple borders. But yeah, and I get the last question that's fun to talk about, I think, is just the inspiration for the music, because music was always God, was it you that said this to me, Matt? You might have been. I remember a lot of things you say, but the music will not make a bad film good, but it will always make any film better if you're using the right music. You know, it's like
Yeah,
music so
that's it.
much, yeah. And I think because this was such a love letter to so many of my favorite 80s and like 90s movies and stories, a lot of the temp track was stuff that I was just pulling from movies like The Guest and Upstream Color
Yeah.
and Drive, and things that just really had that like propulsive quality
Hmm.
to an unstoppable main character. And then when it came time to put the score together, we reached out to a friend of mine that does. He's a music composer, and he's done a lot of synth stuff. And so it was like, okay, cool. This is what we're working with. And I remember giving him some really basic directives for the core beats of the film, and just being like, let's see what he comes back with. And I was expecting very much a what's it called when somebody like copies just an idea and does their take on it? There's a word for it.
It's
I want
called
to
a copy.
a copy, right? That's I was expecting very much like a copy of like what the temp tracks were, and
Hmm.
he came back with something very, very different,
Yes.
like holistically different, and
Yeah.
so much so that I think the first round that he came back with and what ultimately made it into the film was not very different. I think he's just
Hmm.
his idea brought a different type of life to the soundscape of the film,
Yes.
way that it just like it lived somewhere between sound design and film score, and it gave that. I think that's the moment when like the film really started to feel alive for me,
Yeah.
was we got back the first round of music, and it was like, cool, this is a
Yeah.
thing. It's its own.
And yeah, and then you had another friend come in, and he did a lot of work as well
Yeah,
on the score. And this is, first of all, uh, this wasn't because the first composer uh, couldn't couldn't do it, but he lacked um, composing experience, right?
sure.
He
Yeah,
didn't
this
have
was his
as
first
much.
feature score
Yeah,
to and that ultimately, that I think that worked ultimately to the benefit of the film, is that
Yes.
we were able to like scattershot creatively
Yeah.
scenes, and then also dial them in, and we sort of like shifted that gear between the two composers, and ultimately ended up with a really, really, really strong score. Evan Michael Brown and Cheyenne Daniels, like the two composers,
Yeah.
worked really well together. And really,
And
really happy with the just everything that ended up coming out of it. So
I'll point out that Isaac does not he doesn't there's we don't really see, we don't hear what's going on in his head. Like
yeah,
we provide nothing really. And so the story is actually like it's only a 71-minute movie, but we have a full like hour and a half score in there because the
there's
music
73 minutes of music in a 71.
it's but it
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
it is
It
all
really is.
but it's
Well,
almost like that.
but I think that's like that's a lot of when I said like the film came alive when we got our first round of the score, is that it really highlighted what Isaac was thinking and how he
Right.
felt about what he was engaging in, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was the score was almost dialogue or monologue in that way.
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
And it became like another presence in the film, another creative force.
yeah,
And you and I, we had to like really sit back and think about it
yeah.
because it was a whole new voice,
That was
right?
a new.
Because we had
Yeah,
worked on the film,
yeah,
and so, but this was a very interesting feature to work on
yeah.
because it just there's again it was few people during the pandemic, but we had to have each of those voices of different creators come in and tell one story.
Yeah, no, I was very, very lucky to connect with the people that ended up contributing their creative voice to this, because
Yeah,
uh, it really was a product of people with good ideas. And it's like I'd
yeah,
like to my ideas were a lot of that, but I think so much of it was just the collaboration with people that knew more than me. Yourself included. I think, yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
no, because we almost talked as long as the film.
Yeah, no. Did we? We might be getting there. We're getting there. The last thing, I guess, the last, if there's nothing else to add, the final thing that I'd love to is more of a story within the story of the story,
Yeah.
and that's we were at one film festival in Buffalo, New York, one of my favorite film festivals. I think,
Oh
God,
yeah.
the
Which I
Buffalo
couldn't
Film
go.
Festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't able to make that, but that was actually the time
No.
Jake saw the film. Jake made it
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
with his girlfriend Holly. The And we were up on stage, and it was a good turnout. Like we had like film festivals. It's like anywhere between, like, I don't know, like four people and like a
Yeah.
pack, which we had both in the
We have a
festival.
lot of logos on our
Do.
trailer.
That's how you know it's good. And so Jake and I were on stage for the Buffalo Film or Fantasy Film Festival, and this little girl, she couldn't have been older
Oh
than
yeah.
8 years
Beautiful.
old. I just watched the movie, and it's like in my mind, I'm like, who? Your parents let you see Lunamancer? Like, that's good
Hey.
parents. Uh, and she raises her hand, and she asked me if in the world of Lunamancer, were there to be werewolves, could the Lunamancer control them? And
Oh
would
yeah.
Isaac be able to beat them? And I remember looking at her, thinking about like the brilliance of the question, and then just yes and yes. And if there ever is a Lunamancer 2, I think that's an amazing premise for it. Is now there's werewolves. So I it's been a pleasure talking about Lunamancer.
Yeah.
I'll always enjoy it, but keep an eye out for Lunamancer 2. Now there's werewolves. So,
Woo!
whew, all right.